I just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia, who denies any knowledge of what took place with regard to, as he said, his Saudi Arabian citizen. I've asked, and he firmly denied that. We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the King firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows? We're going to try getting to the bottom of it very soon. But his was a flat denial. I can only tell you that his denial to me is just one very, relatively fast phone call, probably lasted 20 minutes. His denial to me could not have been stronger, that he had no knowledge. And it sounded like he, and also the Crown Prince, had no knowledge. I did say this is very important. The world is watching, the world is talking, and this is very important to get to the bottom of it. And I think he understands that very well. He did say very strongly that he's dealing with Turkey, that they've come to an agreement, that they're investigating it together, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay. Sorry. So, that just now, right, was Donald Trump earlier this morning. And he's explaining to us how the Crown Prince and the King of Saudi Arabia denies any knowledge, right? They deny any knowledge at all of knowing what happened to Khashoggi, this journalist, right? And who went into the consulate, and he went in, and he was recorded coming back out. So they claim that he exited through the back door, but there's no CCTV proof of that. Now, my thing is, all of this right here is a distraction from the bigger picture and what's going to eventually happen. And this right here is a prelude to the crash of the stock market, the U.S. stock market as we know it, and probably worldwide as well. But this right here is just a prelude to what's going to happen, building up. It's a build up to the crash of the market. But everything right now that we see happening in the news is a forerunner to that happening. And now, just a little more than an hour ago, this is why I'm recording this video, right? He just showed us that Saudi vehemently, right? The prince and the king, they vehemently denied having any knowledge of Khashoggi and his death, right? I mean, what happened to Khashoggi or being involved in his disappearance or death, right? But now here you have on CNN, this article that came out about, I'll say an hour and some ago. They admit, right? They say Saudis preparing to admit Jamal Khashoggi died during interrogation, sources say. What? So now, Donald Trump just gave this big speech this morning about how they have no knowledge of it, right? And it sounds to me that he's trying to insinuate that by them saying that they have no knowledge and denying any previous knowledge of what happened, that there is going to be something big planned towards punishing them, right? And now, let me just read this article right quick. Ankara, Turkey, CNN. The Saudis are preparing a report that would acknowledge the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi's death was the result of an interrogation that went wrong. One that was intended to lead to his abduction from Turkey, according to two sources. One source says the report will likely conclude that the operation was carried out without clearance or transparency and that those involved will be held responsible. One of those sources acknowledged that the report is still being prepared and cautioned that things could change. Right? Now, this sounds more to me like this is more in the terms of the prince and the king being involved in having some kind of knowledge, right, of this happening. And what's going to happen now? The U.S. is going to impose sanctions because Congress is going crazy over this right now. I think it's Rubio trying to gather people up to impose sanctions with or without Donald Trump, right? Because for some reason, this is the big topic right now in the White House and around the world, and everybody's watching this. And what is playing out right here, the script that I see that is unfolding right here, is this is going to be leading up to this crash of the U.S. stock market. Somehow, some way, I don't know. But somehow, some way, this is going to involve a crash. Now, earlier today, you had, because it's been in the air for a while, and it says it's going to be bankrupt, and it happened already. A major player like says is going bankrupt or filed for bankruptcy. And a lot of things is happening right now involving the U.S. stock market. But then you had the U.S. Made threats of imposing sanctions on Saudi Arabia if it is found that they were involved in any way, shape, or form with the debt of Khashoggi, right? And the markets in Saudi Arabia, the stock market plunged as a result of that. It plunged at 7%, but let me read the article right quick. Shares in Saudi Arabia plunged as the fallout over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi got worse over the weekend. The mean stock market index in Riyadh fell as much as 7% on Sunday, and billions of dollars were wiped off the value of leading Saudi companies. The index covered some ground later to close 3.5% down. Right? It says, the unexplained disappearance of Khashoggi, a former Saudi government advisor turned critic, has already prompted some big-name business partners to cut ties with projects that are central to Saudi's plans for building a modern economy with technology at its core. So, Khashoggi was a dissident. He was opposed to the Saudi government, right? And now here it is, the script, what is being played out is leading or is uncovering that maybe the Saudis intentionally killed Khashoggi. They killed Jamal because he was rallying for everybody to be against Saudi and against their technological advancements. And then they are trying to say that he was a snare, a thorn in their side, right? That's a narrative that's being played out right now. But the bigger narrative is all this is a shield. I mean, all this is a cover up. All this is a smoke screen and a prelude to the crash of the American stock market and possibly a global crash. But anyway, things are just heating up right here. Okay. This article says tension between Saudi Arabia and the United States has escalated sharply over the weekend, with Riyadh issuing a veiled threat to use the oil weapon if Washington slaps sanctions on the kingdom over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But most experts dismiss the rhetoric as mere bluster, saying Saudi Arabia does not have the dominant position in the oil market that it did decades ago, and pointing out that Riyadh cut output in order to cause a price spike. It would boomerang spectacularly. But hey, this is building up to be something major. This is building up to be something major, and something is going to go down. Something huge is going to go down. I don't know when and I don't know how, but everything involving Venezuela, the fuel is there. No pun intended. The oil is there. All that needs to happen now is the spark. All it needs is the spark. All it needs to be is lit. Because the spark is happening everywhere right now. And it just needs to be lit right now. Let me read this right quick. The disappearance of Saudi dissident Jamal Khashoggi has set off a diplomatic feud between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. A bipartisan uproar in the United States Congress, tremors of uncertainty in Wall Street and Silicon Valley about how to deal with Saudi Arabia, and a noisy spat between the White House and its closest Arab ally. On Monday morning, President Trump said on Twitter that he had just discussed the case with King Salman, who denied any knowledge of what had happened to Mr. Khashoggi. and that he was immediately sending Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to meet with the king later in a brief remarks to reporters. But hey, like I said, something big is going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon. All these things are leading up to something very major: war and the economic collapse. And like I always try to tell you guys, please get strong in the faith with Christ Jesus. Build yourself strong in the faith. Walk in all righteousness. Keep his two most important commandments. Love God, Yahweh, our Father, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Love him with all your heart, mind, and soul. Put all your focus on him. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. These are Jesus' two greatest commandments that he left with us. And if you keep those two, you keep all the commandments. He did not change the law, but he came to renew it. And it's renewed through our belief in him. His blood and salvation saved us from death. He took away the sting of death through his blood, through his sacrifice. And now all of us that who believe and who call upon his name can be saved. Something big is coming. War is coming. An economic collapse is coming. All of these things that you see in the news are preludes. All the headlines is a prelude to war and economic collapse. You got to be able to read between the lines and underneath the crap that they post. This is a new world agenda, and it has nothing to do with what they tell us is happening. It's just a script. It's just a movie script being played out in front of us. And I pray you guys, please, as I said earlier, please grow strong in the faith, because Jesus Christ is going to be the only one who can protect us from against what's coming upon this earth. It's going to get real crazy, and it's going to get crazy real soon. But you guys take care. I encourage you to get up to date with what's happening and stay strong in the faith. God bless.